I'm very excited to be joined by a very talented singer and songwriter, Lucinda Fosker. I'm also doubly excited to find out more about your commission piece, but I want to find out a bit more about you and your interests and inspirations first. And I'm keen to know where your love for singing first started for you.
Ooh, tricky question. Yeah, I mean, like most musicians on this programme, I started from quite a young age. So I studied mainly musical theatre, first of all, and then when I was sort of about 17, I got offered a scholarship to the Laurie Montgomery jazz course. And then from there, that was the first time I'd experienced jazz singing. And then it was actually Laurie Holloway who said, you know, you can go and do this as a thing. So then I applied to Conservatoire and went to Birmingham and studied jazz vocals for 4 years, which sort of was a crazy whirlwind, but amazing.
It's quite a journey to go from musical singing to jazz singing. Is that something you'll probably bring back, or is it always still there in your life, the musical?
Yeah, I mean, obviously lots of the jazz standards originally came from musicals. So that's definitely always been something that is part of who I am. But yeah, definitely jazz was, my passion, and that's the path I would like to stay on, really.
So I've had a listen to one of your previous albums and it's absolutely amazing. And also your recent extended EP as well. The songwriting in it is absolutely beautiful. And I'm keen to know what your songwriting process was also like for this commissions piece as well. How did that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was completely different to what I'm used to. I'm very used to writing songs. So this project was something completely new for me, having to write, I wanted to write a piece that was, continuous. So that was a challenge for me lyrically as a singer, just to, it doesn't fall under the sort of normal like verse, chorus, that sort of thing, or standard ABA. So that was my sort of first hurdle. But Jazz South paired me with a fantastic mentor, Gwyneth Herbert, who had loads of fantastic songwriting ideas for me. She has an album about the sea. So she sort of, was really inspirational, and we talked about different ways to be inspired and how to sort of take some time. So she sent me off to each stretch of the river that I wrote about, and she made me do this thing she called free writing, which is where you just go for it and you write down on a piece of paper everything that pops into your head. You set yourself a time limit. So that was really interesting, because then I had something to work with her with and came back and sort of thought, wow, I've got pages and pages. Most of it was nonsense, but there were a couple of gems in there that, we worked with. And so, that was really helpful. And the composition that you made is not just music and songwriting, there was a visual element to it as well. And where did the thinking behind that come, and how did you put that together? Well, I knew I wanted to take the listener, the audience, on a journey. So obviously, musically, I had ideas for that. But then I also wanted there to be this visual element of, the audience could then associate that section of the river with, oh, actually, there it is in front of you. So I worked with a filmmaker called Ketibuah-Foley, and she sort of came up with this idea of a time lapse. So the piece of music starts in the morning and then it works through sequentially throughout the day and actually ends with the sunset at night. But she had some amazing ideas, and as we played the piece, she sort of could time it and speed it up and slow it down with these time lapses, which was really, really nice, especially for the last section. It all went to sleep at the night. Have you ever sung for that long, for 15 minutes straight? Was that new for you? That was new for me. Well, obviously when you gig, you do sets and things and you have breaks between songs, but I knew for this project I wanted it to be one continuous piece. That was a challenge, actually, yeah, keeping up the energy for the whole time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I'll ask you more about the writing process for that commission piece in just a bit, but I want to know what the inspiration for Riverways was, because it's based on the River Thames, and I'm keen to find out why, because the River Thames has been part of lots of different creative pots of inspiration for poetry and for lots of songs and nature as well. So for you, where did the inspiration lie for you to sing and write about the River Thames?
Well, I always, from a young age, was surrounded by nature and the Thames. And so it's always been something when I was growing up that I was passionate about and inspired by. And I live in Wargrave, which is a little village on the Thames. And yeah, during lockdown, I sort of spent a lot of time on the river. I have a kayak, not that I'm a great kayaker, but I have a kayak, and you know, and certain days you'd be on the river and it would be different weather or different, you know, there's different things going on. And I thought how amazing it would be to write a piece of music that went on a journey down the Thames, and how it would be quite interesting to try and separate it into 4 different sections on the river, basically.
Wicked. Well, it sounds like your relationship with nature is quite important to you creatively. Does nature come into most of your songwriting, not just in this commission piece, but does it flow into your other songs as well?
Yeah, definitely. In the album that we've just released, there's actually a song called Birds Are Beautiful, which is, yeah, something that, you know, a song that I wrote being inspired by nature and my surroundings. So, yeah, I take a lot of my inspiration from, yeah, different, you know, weather, animals, that sort of, yeah, whatever sort of resonates with me as an individual.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk more about Riverways and the recording and the writing process. What was it like to play with lots of different musicians, and what was it like to write a piece that was 15 minutes long?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's been tricky this year as well with, you know, normally you would be rehearsing all the time, but so there was a lot of the project was just me composing at home. And then, you know, it was nice actually taking it to the band and then bringing it to life, and hearing what they could do with it as well. But it was amazing being able to play with musicians again after a long time. I chose musicians that I've played with for a long time. They're actually all the same musicians that are in my album as well. So I've played with them, and I studied with a lot of them at Birmingham as well. So, and I knew that they were musicians that could improvise, but sort of bring the music to life in terms of, yeah, so for example, for the sax player, I did write a part, but at places I just put, you know, create the sounds of a sunrise at this point. Right. So very vague, but I knew that, you know, Chris, who played sax, would do an amazing job at this. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, it sounds like you've had a really enjoyable experience with this, and I'm intrigued to know, are you gonna do any more projects sort of similar? Has this inspired you to do something else creatively?
Definitely. Yeah, I would love to be able to now, when we are gigging as a band, you know, we all now know this piece inside out, so it'd be amazing to now, you know, take this piece forward and possibly perform it. You know, it could be a nice thing we could perform on gigs as well. But yeah, I'd love to explore, you know, maybe a whole different section of the river, or, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I hope next time when you're making songs, maybe you'll make another song about kayaking or something. That sounds like great fun.
Yeah.
But it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Lucinda.
Yes, you too.
All the best for the future.
Thank you.